You know that feeling when a movie comes out and everyone and their mama says it's the most disturbing thing since beans on pizza. And the whole time you're thinking, it can't be that bad, right? So you go ahead and watch it. And now you can't sleep without leaving the nightlight on. Yeah, that was my experience with the original Speak No Evil from 2022. You should definitely believe the hype. This is one of the most shocking films I've ever seen. So buckle up and get ready for this bumpy ride. Let's break down why Speak No Evil is a nightmare you can't wake up from. The film begins with Bjorn and Louise, a Danish couple on vacation in Tuscany with their young daughter Agnes. They meet another family, Patrick, Karen, and their son Abel, a quiet kid who doesn't speak much. Over dinner, the two families bond. It seems innocent enough, two couples enjoying each other's company while on vacation. But that's where the seed of this nightmare is planted. A few months after the vacation, Bjorn and Louise receive an invitation from Patrick and Karen to visit their rural home in the Netherlands. Now, it's not like they were best friends or anything. They'd only met once during the trip. But for whatever reason, Bjorn convinces Louise to accept the invitation. After all, what could go wrong? First of all, that's the last question you should ask in a horror movie. When Bjorn, Louise, and Agnes arrive at Patrick and Karen's countryside home, things immediately start feeling off. It's not that anything clearly bad happens right away, but there's this underlying tension that grows scene by scene. Louise becomes more and more uncomfortable as time goes on. She notices small but disturbing behaviors in their hosts. For example, Patrick can be very passive-aggressive, especially when it comes to how he treats his son, Abel. At first, Abel's behavior seems odd but not alarming. He's a quiet kid, doesn't talk much, and makes strange noises. But when Patrick disciplines Abel harshly in front of Bjorn and Louise, the alarm bells start ringing. Louise, being the more cautious of the two, is clearly unsettled. But Bjorn just brushes it off and tells her it's probably just because of cultural differences. This guy has obviously never seen a horror film in his life. Patrick and Karen invite Bjorn and Louise out to dinner, leaving Agnes and Abel behind. They don't inform Bjorn and Louise about the babysitter, Muhajid, until the very last second. He's a complete stranger to them, but again, Bjorn stays quiet, not wanting to offend their hosts. Louise, however, feels uneasy. I wouldn't be fine with leaving my daughter with a strange man in a strange country either. But still, she pushes her worries aside, and all the adults go out. The dinner almost seems like a test of their patience. Patrick begins to reveal his true colors, and they are ugly. He shuts down Louise's vegetarian meal and orders meat dishes for her instead. All her refusals fall on deaf ears, it seems. Then on top of that, Patrick gets drunk, kisses his wife aggressively in front of them, and manipulates Bjorn into paying for the entire meal. The next morning, after that horrible dinner, Louise is in the shower when Patrick casually walks in. Yep, he just strolls in as if it's no big deal. But it doesn't stop there. Later, while Bjorn and Louise are doing the do, Patrick watches them. Not only does he have zero respect for their boundaries, he also seems to enjoy making them uncomfortable. Things get even worse when Agnes asks to sleep next to her parents and they ignore her. In the middle of the night, Patrick takes Agnes from their room, and Louise finds her the next morning sleeping beside a buck-naked Patrick. At this point, it's pretty clear that they need to leave, and fast. In a panic, Bjorn and Louise decide to leave immediately. They pack up and get in the car ready to escape this vacation from hell. But just when they think they're free, Agnes realizes that her stuffed rabbit, Ninus, is missing. And this is where things take a tragic turn. Instead of continuing to drive away, Bjorn decides to turn back for the rabbit. When they get back to the house, Patrick and Karen convince them to stay a little longer. They downplay all of Louise's concerns, and Bjorn reluctantly agrees. But the discomfort doesn't stop. In fact, it continues to build. Later, during dinner, Patrick gets more aggressive with Abel. He even throws a mug at him when he refuses to dance. It's here that Bjorn finally stands up to Patrick, but it's too little, too late. That night, Bjorn cannot sleep, so he starts snooping around the property. He stumbles upon a hidden cabin behind the house. Inside, he finds something truly horrifying. There are suitcases and cameras from other families who had visited Patrick and Karen over the years. The walls are covered with photos of them smiling with different couples and their children. All of a sudden, everything becomes clear. Patrick and Karen are not just weird, they're dangerous. They've been luring families like Bjorn and Louise into their home only to kill the parents and take the children. Bjorn also finds Abel's lifeless body in the pool. This tells him that Abel was never their son, just the child of the last couple they murdered. In full panic mode, Bjorn grabs his family and drives away from the house. But in a stroke of the worst luck possible, their car breaks down in the middle of nowhere and they are stranded. Bjorn leaves Louise and Agnes with the car to go get help. But when he returns, his worst nightmare has come true. Patrick has found them. Bjorn's family is now sitting in Patrick's car. Bjorn is scared and desperate, so he tries to play along, pretending everything is fine. But it's clear that the situation is spiraling out of control. Patrick beats Bjorn while Muhajid holds down Louise, and Karen takes things to an unimaginable level. She cuts out Agnes's tongue like the cold-hearted serial killer she is. Agnes is now mute, just like Abel. They force Bjorn and Louise to enter their car. And in the final moments, Bjorn and Louise are driven to a quarry, they're ordered to strip naked, and then they are brutally stoned to death. In one of the most chilling moments of the film, Bjorn begs for an explanation for all the madness. Patrick simply replies, "Because you let me."
Why are you doing this? Because you let me.
It's this line that sticks with you long after the movie ends. The idea that Bjorn and Louise, through all their passivity and politeness, allowed themselves to be manipulated into a situation where they and their daughter were destroyed. In the end, Agnes, now mute and traumatized, is forced to play the role of Patrick and Karen's new daughter. The couple then sets their sights on their next victim, ready to repeat the cycle all over again. And that's the thing about Speak No Evil. Even when you can sense what's coming, it still leaves you reeling. It's one of those endings that makes you question why you ever thought watching the movie was a good idea. The amount of time you spend yelling at the screen, "Just leave," is unreal. If you've seen Speak No Evil, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Did it mess with your head as much as it did mine? And if you haven't seen it yet, well, you've been warned. Until next time, stay safe and maybe keep the lights on.